Mental health. Something of great importance, yet something that has been neglected in the state of New Mexico. This may not directly affect you, but it can affect the lives of those you love. Teachers, friends, co-workers, parents, siblings, those people around you every day. Just everyday people, everyday life. So I've extensively researched this topic, not only in this class, but in my job as well. I work as a community anti-drug and gang coalition youth advocate. I've been doing that for about a year now. Within that year, I've attended seminars, roundtables with local leaders, state leaders, talking about how we can combat the lack of mental health services in our state. So I want you, as New Mexico citizens, to combat this yourselves. I want you to stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. Stand up for those who need these services, those who lack these services and who really need our help in order to live their lives. So the lack of mental health services in New Mexico is outrageous. I believe personally it's something that shouldn't have never happened. We weren't there before, we're here now, and we need to fix that. We need to get back onto where we were and improve and not stop improving, because mental health is something very important. It's something that deals with humans. Humans are the greatest significance ever, no matter good or bad, and mental health has a big role in that. And so we need to make sure that's doing what it. We need to make sure we're providing those services for those who need it. The state of New Mexico, it's going to have to do a few things to fix that, and I'll discuss those things later. And then I'll also tell you on how you, New Mexico citizens, can fix that, what you can do as individuals to try to combat what we're going through right now. So now, what was the New Mexico mental health shakeup? Well, the year is 2013. Susana Martinez is our governor, and the Martinez administration decides to hold an investigation. They investigate some mental health service programs in New Mexico. They find that 15 of these mental health service programs, and they accuse them of fraud. They accuse them of misusing taxpayer money and just millions of dollars, accused them of misusing all of that money. And so basically they cut off their funds, they cut off their Medicaid funds. And so once this is brought to their attention, these programs, they go to the state and they say, hey, what's going on? Like, what did we do wrong? Like, why is this happening? And the state says, well, we accused you of fraud, blah, blah, blah. And then the state says, well, you still have to do your job. They tell these programs, they just cut off their funds, and they tell them, you still have to do your job. That doesn't really make too much sense to me. They cut off their funds. So without funds, you can't pay employees, you can't buy the things you need, you can't provide, so if you can't pay your employees can't provide services because they need money, they need to live themselves, they have their own lives. And so all of this was just a big disaster, big, crazy, outrageous thing that happened. And so all of these companies basically shut down. They can't do anything. All of the people they provide services to are confused, they're confused. Everyone's just kind of shaken up by this whole shakeup. And so what's going on is these companies shut down, and then the Martinez administration invites these Arizona companies to come and fill their spots. And so these Arizona companies thinking, wow, we can do this, we can provide these services and do what we need to get done. However, that's not really how it played out. The New Mexico residents who were using these services, they weren't comfortable with this. They had already established a rapport and relationships with the New Mexican companies, and so these Arizona companies came in and it just wasn't the same for them, and either they left or they just couldn't do it anymore. The services weren't being they weren't fulfilling for them. And so the Arizona companies, they had no choice other than to shut down themselves and go back to Arizona. And so that left the New Mexico residents needing these services in the dark. They really couldn't do anything. Without these services, it leads to a whole mess of other things. Without mental health services, it increases crime, increases drug use, increases suicides. Big major issues that we have in our state, the lack of mental health services just increases all of them, shoots them through the roof. Totally unnecessary, totally just a bad thing. So here's a little example I read from KRQE. It was I believe like 2016, maybe 2017, and there's this man, he's someone who suffers from mental health issues and he needs mental health services, and he's out by near the UNM campus, and he's like being a big disturbance, being really loud. People contacted police. The police come and they arrive to the scene, and he's not being dangerous, so they can't really arrest him. He's not a danger to himself or others, just kind of more of a nuisance, I suppose. And so the police are about to leave. Once he sees that he's not going to be arrested, he does something really outrageous. He moons the police officers, which a couple times, and the police officers have no choice but to arrest him because this is something that is illegal, act of public indecency. And so the reason that he did this was because some people feel that, well, if I get arrested and I go to jail, I can get the services I need there. I can get the help that I need for my issues there better than I can being outside of jail, which is a really sad thing to say, because it really shouldn't be like that, and that's a definite issue. Another issue, this is an article I read from the Carlsbad Current Argus. There's this woman, I believe she lives in the northern part of the state, and she adopts children. She has 7 to 8 children, I believe, and they all have mental health issues, not like anything bad or anything, but they all need mental health services. They all need medication for these things, and without the Medicare and things going through these services, they can't obtain that. They had a mental health program where they were living. That was one of the 15 that got shut down, and they live more of in a rural area, so it takes a long time to get places, and it just made their lives so much harder. They can hardly obtain the services that they need for their children, 7 to 8 children in New Mexico, just from one household. Big issue. It's like that all over the state, and that's something that needs to be fixed. So we now know what the issue is, what it was. It's been brought to people's attention. So what do we need to do now? So the solution, simple, easy. Okay, I take it back. Simple being said, easy to say, and that is to increase funding throughout our state, to increase funding to these programs, to unfreeze the accounts, let the Medicare flow, let the services be reestablished and things like that. Like I said, easier said than done, because this deals with politics, money, two things that like blow up sometimes, and they're very, very dramatic at times. So something very, very easier said than done. So what can you do as a New Mexican to help this? It's simple. You can bring awareness. You can make this aware to those you know, those you love. Spread the word. Workplace, home life, social life. Bring it to your local leaders, state leaders, federal leaders, things like that. So we've assessed the plan. We've assessed the problem, we made a plan, and now we need to execute. So there's a lack of mental health services in New Mexico, like I said before, and it's pretty outrageous. We need to figure out what we're going to do to that now. So like I said, we need to increase funds. The state of New Mexico needs to increase the funds. It's not that simple though. Like, since the companies are already out and they're done, the damage has been done, the scars have been made, and it's getting really hard. It's not gonna happen overnight. It's gonna take some time. There's gonna have to be some rebuilding, things like that. But what can you do? You can call your local and state senators, representatives, let them know how you feel about these things. Let them know and bring awareness to them, and so they can actually do their job in legislature to help us in New Mexico. So I want you, citizens of New Mexico, to stand up for those who are having trouble standing up for themselves.